Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I'm your host, Lisa. I am a multimedia anime content creator, and my work spans across my blog, my YouTube channel, and of course, this podcast. I am so excited this week. I'm having another surprise returning guest. It's been years since this guest has been on my podcast. I've been on her podcast. And this is like a family reunion, basically, at this point. But I have the wonderful Phoenix from The Anime Tea. Phoenix is the host of The Anime Tea, a YouTube channel and podcast where she breaks down visual storytelling in anime and manga one cup of tea at a time. When she's not spilling the anime tea, she's either working on publishing her slice of life fantasy novel, Ambrosia's Eden, or traveling the world. Phoenix, welcome back. Welcome back.
Hi, Lisa.
I'm so excited. And I did want to ask, what tea are you drinking?
Well, this one is from Hawaii, actually. It's like a macadamia coconut herbal tea. I'm trying to drink herbal tea in the afternoon because I don't want to be hyped up.
I feel like for years I wasn't like a tea drinker, and I can do tea now, but it has to be herbal because I have to have coffee every day. Like I'm that person. I don't care. It's who I am. But then I can't have any more caffeine after that. So I've been getting into like fruity teas, and I love it. But I'm so excited that you're here. And you're going to be talking about an anime that I actually don't know. And we'll get into that in a bit. But before we do, for those of people who, I don't know where they were, living under a rock that didn't listen to my previous episode with you, or just are not familiar with you and what you do with the Anime Tea, if you could tell us a little bit about that and the journey of creating the Anime Tea, because you've been doing it for a couple years now.
Yeah, I have. So that's yeah. I'm a little nervous because I haven't been on a podcast in a minute. Like even my own podcast, I've kind of been putting in the background. So sorry if I'm long-winded. But yeah, so I've been doing the Anime Tea, I think, YouTube for 4 years, since 2019. So maybe 5 years. And I did the podcast before that, like starting in 2017. So it's been going on like almost 7 years of just the Anime Tea, which is crazy to me. But yeah, over time, I think I've kind of just been focusing more on YouTube, and I try to put out more videos that are about storytelling in anime, kind of relate some things to my own life or just like personal experiences, and kind of trying to connect with people who kind of have similar thoughts and ideas about anime, the good things about it, the questionable things about it, the fun things about it, and everything in between. So yeah.
I am a big fan of Phoenix, and we are obviously, maybe not obviously, friends outside of podcasting and all that. But I have been a fan since I discovered your work, listening to the podcast. And then I think I discovered probably 2020. And then when you made like the concentrated shift to YouTube, because had the YouTube channel, but you focused your efforts there. And I said this to you every day. I said this to you offline. Said to you 5 minutes ago, but I absolutely love your videos, and I am always a huge fan of when I see a video and it's like 30 minutes. I'm like, yes, I love a deep dive. My whole brain is the wonder of anime, so I love anything anime, but especially people that are looking beyond, can Goku beat whoever? Like, can they be Goku though? The hot takes, those type of conversations. And you have done some of my favorite YouTube videos ever, like alcohol and anime. That was one of my really good ones. You have a video of that I don't think it's new, but it had been circling around recently about Made in the Abyss, which is controversial, but it was like a really good like. I wasn't familiar at all with anything about it. So I was like, wow, I was really into this. And just like you have some videos on like slice of life and different tropes, anime and things like that. So I'm a huge fan of that. And I kind of wanted to ask, when you are thinking about like creating a YouTube video and one of these topics that are very unique that, people aren't really thinking about, what is kind of like your thought process into picking a topic and doing the research like that gets you motivated to be like, I want to do a video about this?
Really, it's just a lot of my ideas actually just come from watching anime, and then I'm like, why is this a thing? Like if I see something happen a lot, like that's how the alcohol video is made, which is kind of old now, but it is one of my favorite ones that I have made. So I love that. That's your favorite. That's your favorite one. But like that one, I was like, why is it that so many like specifically women anime are like drunk? Or they always have to be drunk in order to be like likable? Or like I think I was watching Spy Family for that one with like Yor, because she was like this kind of kept to herself person, but then she when she gets drunk, it's like that's the funny, like that's the gag. And I'm like, I've noticed that in several series. Why is that a thing? So then I just go down a rabbit hole, research it, spend too much time on it, write an outline that's way too long, and then have to cut it, and then it ends up on YouTube. So that's usually my process.
See, I love that because I love the like the curiosity of being like, this is something that I've noticed. And there's a lot of things. I feel like people are sometimes when I talk to people, they're like, how do you know a lot about that? And I'm like, well, this is actually something that comes up in a lot of anime and a lot of manga. There's so many
Yes.
like tropes or like jokes that like if you've been a fan for so long that you'll pick up and you're like one of my this is of me going into tangent, but and I'm sure you're familiar with this where there's always like there'll be a scene in an anime and like two characters who are potentially dating are like looking at the moon and somebody's like, wow, the moon is so pretty, and that's actually like a play on like you being pretty as a person or like them showing interest in you. And then
Cute.
when you know that and you like pick it up and you're like, this scene is actually because I think I'd picked that up because there's a scene like that in Run with the Wind, which isn't a BL but has a very BL
It
connotation.
does. I love Run
Yeah.
with the Wind, so yes.
Oh yes, that's one of my favorites. And so that, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And people are like, yeah, this is a trope. And then I started noticing it everywhere. Love is War, and some other ones, and I'm like, look at these people, this is so sneaky. But it is just one of those things. So I love that your mind thinks like that, and you have like the the push because you know some people are like, this is interesting. Okay, next thing.
Yeah, it's like
They
okay.
move on, and you're like, no, I'm gonna do a video about this, and I
Yeah.
absolutely, I love that. And I know you said the alcohol one is one of your favorites too, but do you have, and it's recent because you have had a lot of videos last year too. Any recent or like all time favorite videos of yours that you've done?
I think my favorite, and one that I think connected with a lot of people too, which is also kind of why it makes it my favorite, is I did a video talking about like we need to talk about shoujo girls, which was just like kind of like not a recap, but like a look back into like the shoujo girls of like series like Kimi ni Todoke and Nana and Fruits Basket, and how like the main characters are like good girls. And I put good girls in quotations because it's like a certain type of good girl. Like they're always like really forgiving and kind, like overly kind to like a fault, to like a point where like some people are like, I don't like this character because this isn't realistic. And I kind of wanted to I talked about in the video how like and I'm sure other people kind of related to those characters because of their people pleasing and because they're too nice, and like not seeing representations of like me, like characters that look like me and acted like me in series. Like I looked to these characters in shoujo and they kind of taught me and like reminded me like, oh yeah, like how I do act does exist. So it is realistic, but it can be frustrating, and that's kind of like how I feel. I'm sure that's how other people feel, and I think a lot of people told me in comments on that video like that's something that they connected with too, and they appreciated like someone talking about that through that video. So
That I didn't watch that video, and actually I started it, and I
yeah.
have seen those comments, and it's funny because the you talk about Kimi ni Todoke, and that is an anime that I dropped because the main character frustrated
It's just
me.
yeah, she's
Um,
too sweet.
she's very. I think it's in the first. I think it was maybe episode 4 or 5. There's a scene where she's in the bathroom and like the mean girl in the class, and it's just I think too at the certain age I am in my life Like I'm a very direct person. And it is frustrating. But I understand too, like that, like people pleasing aspect.
Yeah.
And I think something that your video, your summary, like I said, I didn't finish it. And I didn't finish it because I'm like, this is one that I need to sit and like listen and like watch. Because there's some of your videos where I have to rewind and I'm like, wait a minute, let me go back to that. Or I'll play it a couple of times. So that one, I'm like, I need to sit with this because I have, I feel like sometimes when things frustrate you or annoy you, it's like it's a reflection of yourself. So it's very hard to see something or that you would have done, or like you're like you could do this, but it's like you know that in hindsight.
Yeah.
But see, like that's what I'm talking about. Where I'm like, you take these conversations, is why you've always been one of my favorite content creators, because you're just taking these like conversations and thoughts that I'm like, this is what makes anime so fun for me and so like exciting, is that relationship to
Yes.
looking at something and relating it back to like your life or your lived experiences or something bigger that people don't know about, or like didn't even think of that. I hope for anybody's listening, of course I'm gonna have links to your channel in the
Aw,
description, but I
thanks.
hope that they go and I'll have these specific videos linked, but just binge Phoenix's channel because it is so
Aw.
fun. And it's great when I'm like, oh, I have a couple videos that I, because YouTube's notifications, what are those for if they don't,
Yeah.
they don't tell you
I
that
know.
you have.
They really don't.
They really don't. But I also wanted to touch upon if you could give us a little bit of information, because you basically, like, I haven't seen you post this anywhere, so in my mind this is an
Oh,
exclusive to the pod.
yes.
If it's not, lie to me and tell me that it is. I'll pretend that I didn't see you tweet about it. But you are working on a slice of life fantasy novel, Ambrosia's Eden. Did I say that right? Okay, good.
Yes, you
Because
did.
I could have, I don't know, I'd be saying things weird sometimes. But if you could tell us a little bit about that, what is, where did you get this idea? How long have you been working on it? What's happening? When can we expect it? I'm
Okay.
ready.
Yeah, so you are the exclusive, so I just wanted to let you know that. I haven't posted anywhere because, like I said, it's kind of been something in the back of like my mind for a while, that I've been working on, but I haven't been kind of afraid to put out. But this year is like the year where I'm like, I just need to put it out. So you're kind of like my, what's it called? Not accommodation, but,
Accountability.
accountability, yes. So you and whoever's listening, and when I post it online, you all will be my accountability. But Ambrosia Eden is basically like kind of this slice of life fantasy that was partly inspired by magical girls, partly inspired by dark anime series that I love, and kind of like a twist of all of that. It in its basic form, it's basically about a girl. Her name is Ambrosia. She has this power where she can like manipulate plants, and she gets taken in by this cult because of her mom. It's kind of dark and weird, yeah. And then
I love cult. Oh my God, I'm sold.
but she does escape the cult. So like at the beginning of the story, she's already out of the cult and she's kind of moving on in her life, and she's trying to live a normal life. She's in college. And she ends up meeting this guy who she used to know as a kid before she was in the cult, and they kind of have like a kind of rocky relationship that like he doesn't remember her. And trying to make it simple, she basically, the story follows like her trying to, like, their relationship kind of growing. It's a romance, and and she has to solve like a mystery that kind of relates back to the cult, and like how it's like kind of still part of her life and overcoming that. So it's a hot mess, but like most anime that I've been inspired by, it's messy and dark and romantic.
This sounds so good. It does not sound like a hot mess. Oh my, I'm cult. I also love like reunited, second chance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already sold. There's so many elements that
Thanks.
I love. So, oh my God, I'm sorry. So, do you have like a date, like a deadline for yourself that you want to have it done or like out?
I want to have it done by, I mean, I've written a lot of it. There's just some small parts left that need to be finished, and then I want to have it like edited and stuff by at least March or April, and out before the end of the year. I don't have a specific time because I'm terrible with deadlines, but sometime this year I wanted to have it published and available.
I'm so excited. I'm counting down. This sound. First of all, thanks for the exclusive.
Thank you.
Um, hair flip. I don't have much hair anymore, but hair flip. But oh my god, I'm so like I'm telling you, this is like literally all the tropes that I love. I also love not like I said that and like I love Colts. Like, no, I don't want to be in a cult,
I
but I
love
love
cults.
the fascination.
Yeah.
Colts are us. No, but especially lately, like there's so much cult stuff out there. This is
Yeah,
a
there is.
very interesting, and I cannot wait for this. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'm so
Yay.
excited. And of course, we will be sending you all the writing vibes, and I'm just speaking it into existence. I feel like the podcast, we make stuff happen, we make stuff come true, we make it done.
It is
So
true.
it's
Yes.
gonna happen, and you're gonna have it done by when you want to have it done.
Yes.
But now be sure to share and let my followers know when you have any bit of news for it, because then I'll have to bring you back so we can do a
True.
promo tour of the book.
True. Thank
But I'm
you. Well,
ready.
thank you for letting me share it on here.
Of course. So now, dun, 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 we're going to get into the wonder of Eureka Seven, which is the anime that you picked to talk about, one of your
Yes.
favorites. And I actually, I'll be honest, I thought you were going to go with a different anime, but then I'm like, did I just make up that that was her favorite anime? But
There
maybe
is
just
another one that, well, what were you thinking? I want to know.
Land of the Lustrous. Is it that one?
I do like Land of the Lustrous, but I don't know if I could talk about it as well. Another one I like though is Oran High School Host Club, so I almost thought about doing that one instead. Um, but I decided to do this one because it's obscure, but I think it's good, and I kind of want to like sell it. I want people
Yes.
to know about it.
Yes. I as I've been doing, I've been letting people know what is my relationship with this anime. I have zero relationship with this anime, Eureka Seven. If I've heard about it, it may have been from Phoenix posting about it or mentioning it before,
Possibly.
but I've never heard about it. I purposely did not look anything up because I wanted to, be in that experience of not knowing anything about it because I think it's fun. So, with that being said, if you can tell us about, what is Eureka Seven?
Yes. First, I will say, not to, it has nothing to do with the way you said it or how anyone else would say it, because this is how we would say it in the US. Like it's supposed to be Eureka, but in Japan, they call it like Eureka 7. I don't know why.
No,
Because when I was
okay,
a kid growing up, I was like, it's Eureka. Like, that's what it is. But every time I listen to the dub, it's like, no, it's Eureka. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Eureka Seven.
Yeah,
That reminds me
yeah.
of that meme where it's the girl's name Erica, but it's spelled like Erica.
Yes,
So
like
okay,
that.
Erica Seven.
Yeah. It's like,
Erica.
yeah, it's almost like Erica, like the name Erica, but just break it down into more syllables. Erica. I don't,
Erica. I'm
yeah,
never
I
gonna
don't,
say it again.
no,
So
it's, you're
hard.
fine. No, it's okay. I know. I'm like, I don't know why they made this more complicated, but it could have just been a language barrier. Anyway, so the series is called Eureka 7. It's also known as Psalms of the Planets Eureka 7, which is like its extra name. No one calls it that. It's basically about this young boy who, I have a whole thing right here. That's why I'm like looking back and forth.
Oh no, I love it. Bring the notes.
It's about a young boy who is kind of like living in the shadow of his like father, who was like this big hero, and he's passed away, and he's kind of just living his life. He's bored. He lives with his grandpa, who's a mechanic, and he's like learning to be a mechanic, but there's nothing interesting going on in his life. So like everything that he wants to be is kind of like he sees from this magazine called Rayout, which is a magazine by these people who are like renegades, and like they they do this thing called lifting, which is basically like a mixture of surfing and skating. It's in the sky. So they literally hover in the sky on these like surfboard type things, and they're really good at it. And he wants to be like them. And one day, like they literally come to his grandpa's mechanic shop. Like one of the people literally falls into like his lap, and it's like this young beautiful girl, of course. And they end up taking him with him on the ship, and he kind of like realizes that everything that he like thought he wanted to be, everything like he looked up to isn't what he thinks it is. So on top of that, it's a mecha anime. So it has giant robots. It has lots of like fighting and giant spaceship type things going on. And yeah, it's a shonen series. Well, it's not shonen. It's an original anime that was just created for. Like, it's just an anime. Like it wasn't a manga first. They did come up with the manga like after, but it's like its own thing. It ran for 50 episodes back in like the 2000s, and yeah, it's one of my favorites.
You, I feel like I may have seen this first episode because what you're saying sounds so familiar. Now let me just look at the picture because I'm telling you, I did
You may
not
have.
look at anything. But man, that just the first part just sounded so familiar. I don't know that guy's looking kind of. What year did this come out?
It came out, I think, in the US. It came out in like 2006 or 7. It's probably like 2005 in Japan or so because it came out on Toonami.
Okay, I definitely maybe have seen one or two episodes because I'm like, this plot, like it's so unique, but it felt so familiar when you were saying it to me. But at I just laughed because the interview that I recorded yesterday was also an original anime. And I'm
Yeah.
like, those be getting you because I'm somebody that like once I'm always do the anime first, and then as soon as the
Yes.
anime is done, I need more. And I'm like, yes, I have this whole manga to dive into. And nothing is more disappointing for someone like me when you
Yeah.
love something and you're like, okay, time to read the manga. And there's no manga.
There's no manga.
Eh, this is so, oh my god. So
Yes.
but it is awesome that then they created the manga. And when did you get introduced to this anime?
So literally, I think maybe the first or second time it was running on Toonami back in like 2006 or 7 when I was a kid. I used to sneak into my older sister's room whenever she would leave because we have like a huge age gap between us, like 14 years or so. So she would like usually leave. She was in college when I was little, and I would go in her room and like sneak on Adult Swim and see what was playing. And this show actually came up, Eureka 7 came up, and I didn't know for the longest time, actually, for like most of my childhood after like that year, I didn't know the name of the series for the longest time. I just remember seeing like this alien girl and then the guy, and they were like falling through the sky. There's like a scene where they're falling through the sky, and it's like so beautiful. Like before Weathering with You, before like all the Makoto Shinkai movies, like this scene was like so memorable to me of like magical, like beautiful scenes of characters falling in love and it being super dramatic. So yeah, I didn't know what it was called for the longest time because I didn't have, internet. Or if I did have internet, I didn't know how to look it up. And it wasn't until like I was like 18 or 19 or so, like I was just randomly looking up the series because I was like, I have to find it. Like it's stuck with me this long. I have to see what it is. And then I found it again, and then I was able to watch it all again. And then now I've seen it at least like 4 or 5 times because like it ended up being so I had so many messages in it that I still relate to, like to this day. So
So you find it again when you're
yes,
18 to 19. Is
yeah.
that when you knew that it was like becoming one of your favorites, or what was that moment that you knew like this is one of my faves, like this is up at the top for me?
True. I think after I watched it like in full again, like as 18, 19, I could understand what was actually happening and not just be like blown away by the pretty pictures. I was like, oh, okay, this actually has more depth than I thought that it would ever. And I wouldn't have never got that as a kid growing up watching it.
It is always like sometimes too when we're watching stuff when we're younger, like you're just getting the face value of it. And
Yeah,
then when you're older, you kind of have more of that wherewithal where you're like, oh, this is actually what this meant and what was happening. Um, and,
exactly.
and you mentioned that you've watched it now a bunch of times. What about the show specifically has made it timeless for you where you can go and revisit it?
I think it's like so many little things. Like every time I've watched it like 4 or 5 times now. It is a 50 episode series, so it's like a little long, but not like super long. It's not like a Naruto or anything. But like watching it again is usually takes me time because I like to like make sure that I'm sitting there like actually seeing what's going on, because there's so much stuff every time I watch it that I've missed. Like I just watched it like casually so I could talk about it for your video, and I was just like getting back into it to make sure I was like talking about it correctly. And then there's like in the first 10 episodes, I noticed like 3 new things that I hadn't noticed before. I was like, oh yeah, they're talking about this, and that happens at the end. Like, oh, they do this, and that's why. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Everybody's been coming on like I just recently rewatched this for the
Yes.
show. I love that. I love that everyone is taking the assignment so seriously. But it is like it's funny you say 50, like it's long, but it's not that long. And I'm
It's
like,
really not.
me and my give me 12 episodes and that's it. That's all
Yeah.
that I want. But it is, I mean, being a show from 2005 and now in 2024, something that you're still able to watch and enjoy just speaks to how good and how much of an impact of it. I'll be honest, like I said, I may have watched this, but I haven't I haven't really heard of the show in conversation, but if there's conversation about their show, or maybe people might be looking at this in a different light, what is something that you think about the show? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to say the name because I know I cannot pronounce
No,
it
you're
again.
okay. It's okay.
Because I'm looking at my notes and I put the show title everywhere, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot say this again.
It
but
is
what
one of those
something about-
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I know it's gonna I'm gonna edit this episode and be like, you said it's so weird, and I'm gonna want to cut
No.
it out. But what
It's
is
okay.
something about the show that people always get wrong?
Yeah. And no worries if you get the title wrong. Well, I'm sure people get the title wrong all the time because, again, it's not the way that it's not the way that most people who speak English would say it. It's very, like, Japanese coded, I feel like, just the pronunciation of it, which is fine. But Eureka 7, I think it just has... now I forgot what the question was.
So what is, and I know you had in your email, you had also said if it was about, I don't know if it was this question
Yeah.
or the other question about if it can be a mecha. So yes, you can answer however you want.
Okay.
But what is something about the series that people always get wrong, whether it's
Okay.
characters, plot points, or a larger thing?
Yes. I'll say just 2 things. So the first thing will be about the series, and the second thing will be about like mecha, the genre of like Eureka 7 and lots of other series as well. For Eureka 7, I will say that people think that it's like an Evangelion clone, like a Neon Genesis Evangelion like ripoff almost, because there's a lot of the characters. Like there's 2 kind of like main girls in the series, and each of them are similar to the main girls in Neon Genesis Evangelion. Asuka and Rei are their names in Evangelion, and then in Eureka 7, it's Eureka and Anemone. Their character types were definitely inspired by them, and a lot of Eureka 7 initially is inspired by Evangelion, like a lot of other mecha anime that kind of came out after that series. Something I didn't learn about until after I watched Evangelion for the first time when it came on Netflix like a couple years ago, and saw like how similar they were, and I was like, oh yeah, this was definitely inspired by that. But I will say that Eureka 7, like, it starts off similar, but it does veer off into its own unique world. It's very well written. The writer for it, or the series, I think it's called series compositor for it is Dai Sato. I think I'm saying his name right. He also did the like scripts and stuff for series like Samurai Champloo and Space Dandy and Cowboy Bebop, and even recently for like the movie Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop, which is one of like my recent favorite, one of my recent favorite Netflix like anime movies. I was like, whoa, okay, he's doing totally new stuff. And he did Eureka, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard good things about. So like, I think him and the creator, director of the series, his name is Tomoki Kyoda. He doesn't really have much other work besides this series, but he's also worked on like the new Evangelion movies. Him and Dai Sato, I think, coming together for this project alone did a great job of just like working together and creating like a really impactful series. That's different from Evangelion, but inspired by it for sure. And then for mecha anime, I've heard people say that they don't like to get into mecha anime because they think it's just giant robots, which granted, there's a lot of giant robots, so I understand. But I I think mecha anime tends to get like outside of like really diehard mecha anime fandoms, which can also be a problem because they can be a little bit much, unfortunately. But unlike just like every other aspect of anime, unfortunately. But mecha anime just kind of gets like thrown under the bus and doesn't get a lot of recognition. And it's sad because, well, besides Evangelion, but it's sad because there's lots of series that I think that like in mecha that have the most like in-depth storytelling and like world building and are able to mesh different kind of genres or different characteristics of genres, if that makes sense, into one series. Like Eureka Seven has romance, it has action and adventure, it has a story about war and growing up in war and being a soldier and like and but also about being like naive and like just being a teenager and like not really knowing what's going on in the world and having to learn through experience. There's also a lot of diversity in Eureka Seven. Like there's black characters, there's brown characters, there's like Asian and white and like lots of different ethnicities, and they're actually drawn very well in Eureka Seven. I've seen other series like I think there's like an older series called Robotech, which is also a mecha. I haven't seen much of it, but they also have characters that are like more diverse. And then recently there was a series called Gundam The Witch from Mercury, which is like the newest Gundam series. And that one's been getting a lot of like hype and kind of recognition, and people talk about it more, and people have been watching it because it has like a brown girl in the beginning. She's mixed, lots of other like diverse characters, and there's like possibly like a gay couple in there. So it's just like it doesn't seem like it's as like interesting, but there's so many little storylines inside of mecha anime that get overlooked because people think it's just giant robots. So I want to change that.
I two things to your two things.
Yes.
I actually opened a new tab and I'm like, have I seen mecha anime? And I read Magic Knight Rare. If a lot of people don't know, but it is mecha. But to your first point about it being a ripoff, I feel like I have not seen the series. I've also never watched Evangelion. I used to say Evangelion, and I think Evangelion sounds way cooler. So when I heard how it was really pronounced, I was very hurt. I know I tried to watch it before, and I also tried to watch it when it came on Netflix, same as you. But then it's like there's like a certain part that maybe if I get past, like it's not. You know what it is too with Evangelion? You know when like sometimes there's too much conversation and you go in with like way too many like expectations. Like people are like, Evangelion will ruin your life. You be depressed. And there's a certain part of me that I'm like, I cannot handle like, and I mean, I like being sad. That sounds crazy, but I love being sad. I love things that make, and they're like Evangelion, like especially the one movie is gonna make you question your whole life and existence. And I've gone on the wiki, I've read it. Like I'm so sorry. Like I just do not get it. Like I'm not, it's not for me. I don't get it. Like I'm not too proud to admit that like it just went over my head. But I will say in general, I don't like when people are like, this is a ripoff. Like people are like, JJK is a Naruto ripoff. And I'm like, what you're thinking of is tropes. And you are thinking of certain things that like a lot of, you know, if something falls into the same genre, it's going to have a lot of similar elements. But that does not necessarily make it a ripoff, even if it's inspired of, even if it has references. Like, I just feel like ripoff is such like a cheap, like analysis of something. Like, it's like, oh, it's a ripoff. And it's like, no, it can be inspired and it can be built upon this. Like, there's so many things that are in quote, if you want to label everything a ripoff, that it's like, yes, it's clear that this series like was inspired by this, but it's like Kami-sama Kiss isn't an Inuyasha ripoff, even though they both have, and the Demon House of Momochi, like
Demon House of Momochi,
white-haired guy with ears and they're demons, like they're not ripoffs. So I love that you addressed that, because I feel like that is always in the anime community, in a certain subsect of fandom, where it's like people are just like, it's ripoff. It's like, yes, but you've also gone to the theaters and seen 10 of the Fast and Furious movies. I know, they all are the same thing. Like, relax. But to your larger point about mecha, that is, I think, like granted, I have not seen a lot of mecha. And I actually, the one somebody else is covering a different mecha anime coming up on the show, but I put on my Annie list and put mecha and see like, oh, what have I seen? And it's nothing,
Oh no.
except Darling in the Franxx, which I did not
Oh
finish.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I think it is something that like people don't take serious. It's so like clear that like mecha, like nobody talks about mecha. Like I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like no one is out here talking about mecha, and
No.
it's such a like, I don't know. I maybe because I grew up in the Power Rangers era where we were like watching the Power Rangers. We were watching the Power Rangers movie. Like I
Yeah.
just see it as like part of the story. It's like a
Yeah.
sports anime. Like yes, it's about the sports, but no, it's not about the sport. Like it's so
Yes.
much. And I'm like, why can't people do that with mecha stories? Like yes, it's about the robots, but it's deeper than the robots. And
Yeah.
I think robots are so cool. Like
Yeah. There's literally, I went to Japan again, but I didn't get to go to this because I didn't realize they had it, and I wasn't in Tokyo. I was in Osaka, but they still have there's a giant Gundam like replica of like a giant robot in Yokohama in Tokyo that like you can go in the head of and it moves. I'm like, this is the coolest thing. It's
I
on
would
my bucket list. I need to go, but like, why is no one else excited about this? Why are we not talking about this?
So I've seen people on there and
Yeah,
at the robot, because a couple like creators have gone recently, but I
yeah.
didn't know, like I didn't see anybody in the head. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I think the head is where you look at. I'm not sure. I could be wrong because I haven't gone yet, and I really want to go. But yeah, it's just like they remade this. Like obviously it's something huge and big. Like the giant robot's cool. Um, but yeah, then on top of that, of course, like what you're saying, like there's a deeper stories to them. Like in sports anime, it's not just about the sports; it's about teamwork and friendship, and like all kinds of other like little things about like the characters. And I think that's the same for Mecha, for Eureka Seven. Really, the characters like make the show, and they are like what is so like fascinating and interesting about the show itself. Like the giant robot is cool, but he's kind of in the background. Like the robots are cool, but they're in the background. The characters are like what keeps you invested.
And you just unlocked a memory for me again. We grew up with the Iron Giant. Like, why are we
Yes.
like we
Oh
should
my
be
god.
the mecha champions?
Exactly. I
Hello,
love the Iron Giant. Yes, like
me
growing up,
too.
that was my show. Like before I even knew about that. So this Eureka Seven is kind of like a mix of like yes, the Iron Giant. Like I was like in love with that show as a kid, and also Disney had this movie called Treasure Planet, which I just recently rewatched because we had Disney Plus for a little bit, and it like unlocked a memory because I forgot that the kid in there he has like a board that he like flies in the sky with, and I'm like, wait, this is this a Eureka Seven like reference, or did they come up with this separately? Like, how are these connected? Because I've never seen that before. Besides Eureka Seven and I guess Treasure Planet, which is like this obscure Disney movie that they don't even promote because it's about like a boy.
It's like if you know, you know, but like we're not
Yeah.
gonna talk about it. Yeah, it just, and it's so like I feel like too like without mecha anime, like anime, I feel like really wouldn't be like what it is today.
True.
Like these robots were putting in the work for us to get to what we're like. I think of, and I'm biased because I'm a clamp girl, but like Magic Knight
Yes.
Ray Earth, that's like a magical girl mecha like anime
Yes.
and manga. Like it's there,
Yes.
and they created it essentially because they saw the popularity of Sailor Moon and how good Sailor Moon was doing, and they wanted to create this other aspect that hadn't been done,
Yes.
meshing shojo and shonen elements. Like, man, see, mecha, we need
Yes.
to. The takeaway so far has been we need to get back into mecha anime, and
Yes.
there hasn't let me see. Let me change this to 2024 if there's any mecha anime this year. It looks like there's one right now that but I never heard of this in my life. Sensuality Noir Part 2,
I don't
um,
know.
Brave Bang Braven, and Metallic Rogue. Oh, I did hear
Oh yeah,
about Metallic
Metallic
Rogue.
Rogue. I do want to watch that one because I know it's new. It came out.
And the two
Yeah.
characters look hot, and one of them has melanin on their skin.
Yes,
This
that's why.
might
That's part of the reason why I was gonna watch it. I was like, oh, okay. A
Somebody's
brown girl's here.
melanated. Sign me up.
Yes.
And she has white hair. Like
Yes.
we're here.
I know, a white-haired character, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're so easy to to tap into.
But yeah,
Like
to
you
your
said,
point.
immense. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say to your point of like mecha anime like paving the way for anime, like if you think back to like and you always reference this on your show because I've been listening to your podcast the past like couple weeks. So you're gonna know. But I think he did mention it on there, but Yadoye in the Anime in America podcast for Crunchyroll, I think he did talk about a little bit, or no, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was
No,
on there. But I always think of
it's
him.
on there.
It
And he
was there.
talks
Okay.
about in the 90s,
Yeah.
they merged two different mecha animes and were airing it in the US as one show.
Yes. Which is like, why? What were they? What were the gymnastics that they were doing to
Imagine,
bring anime here?
imagine trying to watch that show and you're like trying to piece together why certain episodes there's some people and then the other episodes they
They're
don't
not
match
there.
up. Like but yes, it's so funny that I reference that. I'm like, I do talk about that all. That's like my holy
Yes.
grail, my context for everything. But it is, and that's like really what brought. And I think of too, like the Tron movies, like
Yes,
need more
Mecha's
mecha.
been there. Yes, Tron, Gundam, really like they weren't the first, but they were like the most popular one to like really bring like giant robots and like mecha and like kind of spread that throughout the world. Like that came to the US. And then Cowboy Bebop kind of flipped it and did something different because they didn't have giant robots, but they had spaceships. They were still in space. So like that whole wave in the 80s and 90s of anime, well, all original anime, by the way, which I also want to promote more because we need more. I miss original anime, and original anime is like what kind of started like the popularity of anime, because lots of series were just like head canons of creators and they got a team together and they put it together and they made like a movie, or they like Akira, or like any other like smaller OVAs and series. So yeah, I think we just need to talk about mecha and original anime and bring that back. Not as many mecha are coming out anymore because I think the trend is kind of finally died down. Besides Gundam, of course, like Gundam is still huge. And it's sad to say I've only seen like the newest Gundam. That was like my first introduction to it, The Witch from Mercury. Again, because it had a brown girl in it, and I was like, okay, well, I have to watch it.
Sign
and
me up.
Yes, and it was really good actually. And I hope that it brings more like light to mecha anime. But it does make me sad that there was like a whole era of mecha that's kind of like been forgotten about because it was in the 2000s, like my series Eureka 7 and others that are like kind of in the back burner because people are like, oh, we don't need, like I don't really know about mecha anime.
The what you said about original anime, like I'm so like, because I'm such a manga girl. Can't
Yeah.
tell. I'm such a manga girl. But then I'm like thinking of like Yuri on Ice, Skate the Infinity,
Yes.
like those are original animes too, and like all the like the Makoto Shinkai movies and Mamoru Hosoda, like a lot of that
Yes.
is like original too. And I'm like, but I guess everything's about money, and they see like this manga is
Yeah.
doing well, but then it
Yeah.
also like bites us in the ass because then we have like so many series that we would love to see animated because we're like in
Yes.
love with the manga, but because like either the sales aren't there or they're not like thinking about it, they're like, "Well, this
Yeah.
wouldn't," like, please. So yes,
Yeah.
you know what, I am on board. Bring more original anime, but tell me right away that it's original so I don't get my hopes up looking for
Oh,
a
yeah.
manga that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Make it clear.
that's they never make it clear, I guess. Like I think the Crunchyroll awards are going on right now as of when we're recording this, but they actually have a section for like original anime that came out last year, and there's only like 4. I mean, there's only 4 every time, but there's 4 main ones that they put out, and I'm like, yeah, there's finally a section talking about original anime. I was so excited.
I had no idea those were today.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think it's
today?
this week. I think it's
Oh.
this week. So they do it. I think they do it multiple times. You can vote multiple times in like a
Yeah,
week.
I haven't voted yet because I was like, this, I got to sit down and
Yeah.
take my time.
I know.
with these things. But with, um, Eureka Seven.
Yes.
What is in terms of, I don't know what the Eureka Seven hive looks like, the fandom, but in the fandom itself, or when you think of the series, what is an opinion that you have about it that it's unpopular, that you think fans of it wouldn't agree on, or like a take or a thought that you had that maybe
Yeah.
people would see differently?
Yeah. I mean, the part of the fandom that I found, which is not much, like I found like a Reddit page.
It's like you and two people.
Yeah, I found a Reddit page. I think I found a couple people on Twitter, and then I'm sure there's more people on Twitter actually. I don't know if I've looked that deeply into it. And like I found like the comment section on Funimation, which is like still where it's on right now. They were talking about it, but so I don't think my opinions are too far different from the people that might be talking about it. But personally, the two main, not the two main characters, the main character, the young boy, his name is Renton. He can be really annoying. He's also 14, and he acts like a teenage boy. So him being annoying is more just me being like, I don't understand why he's acting this way, because I am not a 14-year-old teenage boy, so I don't know. But at the same time, I can understand how that could be relatable to people. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But there's another character who's kind of like an older brother character. His name is Holland, and he's like the captain of like the renegade like ship, like spaceship kind of called Gecko State. And he, like, at first he seems like a cool, calm-headed guy. But as the series goes on, he is just like a man-child. And he can really get on my nerves because he takes things out on the main character, Renton, all the time that are not his fault. And it's just like all internal issues that he doesn't know how to deal with. And I'm like, please get this man some help. Because he, like, I know he's been through a lot, but he does not need to act this way. He's like 20. He's like, we're the same age. Like, he's like 20s, 28 or so. I'm like, please. He needs help. But yeah.
As you're like saying people, I have like the wiki and Google opened up just so I can like get a visual
Yes.
on these people. And everything, I'm telling you, I may have seen this like first episode because it looked so familiar. But Holland, I could see that he's 28, but they also put him in a way like this little scarf thing, like he could be 40. Like,
Yeah, I don't know why. Okay. The fashion is a little weird in this series. Like, I don't know what they were inspired by. The music is incredible. Like, it was like underground Japanese early 2000s music, which is like fantastic. And a lot of the people who did the openings and endings for series like Naruto and Bleach do endings for Eureka 7. So like the music is fire throughout the entire series. But their fashion, I don't know. I like their character design, like their looks and like the colors, but I don't know what's going on. Like Renton, the main character, has this little puffy thing on his jacket. And I'm like, how does this stay puffed? Why is it puffy? Why? I don't understand why this was a design choice, but they were trying to be futuristic, I guess.
yeah, and it's like he has this jacket on, but then he has pants that are rolled up.
Yeah. It's
And
like, who's dressing this child?
it's definitely like when you look at older series that are depicting like what they think is like futuristic, you're like, where is this? Where are these designs? But it's so funny. I'm just imagining you trying to find the community for this show.
Yes. Girl, I was looking. I was like, because I want to make a video on it. So hopefully look forward to that in the future. But I was like, okay, let me see what other people think about the series. And then I was like, I found this like little Reddit where like a couple of people were like talking about the creator and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, that's about it. That's about all I could find. Kenichi Yoshida is the character designer. He's done a couple other mecha series, but also non-mecha ones. And I just really like his character design. Maybe not the fashion for Eureka 7 particularly, but I don't know if that was all him. But I like the way he makes his characters look. Because, like, there's black characters in Eureka 7, and we all know how sometimes black characters don't be looking great in anime.
Oh my god!
But he makes them look perfectly fine. Like, there's two, like, adult black characters, Hilda and Matthew, and they look fine. Like their features are nice. You know, their lips are not like crazy colors. Like it matches like how they look. The way that they're dressed also is actually pretty decent. Matthew does wear a basketball jersey, but you know, I'm just gonna chop that up to it's early 2000s, and it doesn't look bad on him. So, and he's a funny character, and Hilda's great. She's like the mom of the group on the show. And then there's like a younger boy, and his name's Link, and he is also drawn well. He has like bigger lips, but it's all done tastefully, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it's always a slippery slope. Like, you be
Yes.
like, I don't know, like just don't. When you think about Eric Seven, I'm always gonna say it's so weird.
You did
When
it.
you
You
think,
did.
I did. When you think about its legacy and the fact that it's been almost 20 years, 19 years at this point, you're still
Yeah.
thinking about it, you're still talking about it. There's a semblance of a fandom online. You found other people that are into this. What do you think the legacy of the anime is?
Well, you know, because not a lot of people know about it, but I hope more people learn about it. There's probably not much right now, besides like, you know, the little group of us that exists online somewhere. But I think that it's a type of show that if it came out today, people would talk about because it has good character design with, you know, diverse cast of characters, because the characters are well written, because it has a deeply intricate story that could be, the story can be like doing too much, you know, it's like trying to be way too philosophical. But for the most part, it has like a really easily to understand like theme about like war, about growing up, about connection, and it's also a romance. So it has like elements that today like a lot of people kind of look for in anime, like series that have romance, that good, well written romance, and that have action adventure and things like that do well. So I think it could be a series that people could talk about and enjoy, and something that again, like I said, you could watch it multiple times and like learn something different about it. You can get something different about it as you grow older and watch it, or if you watched it when you were younger, or like you found it on Toonami like I did, and then watch it as an adult, you learn something different from it. And I think it has like a similar impact. I don't know. People may come at me for this because anytime you mention Full Metal Alchemist, people are going to be like, oh, no, it can't be like this. No. But I think, like, for me personally, when I watched Full Metal Alchemist when I was younger and then I watched it as an adult, I got something different out of it. This is a series that, like, again, I watched it at 18. I'm watching it at, like, 28, and I get something different out of it every time. So it can grow with you. And it reflects lots of deeper things that you don't think would matter. I will add one thing I forgot to talk about. Sorry, I want to talk about her real quick. I hope it's not too much.
Go ahead. Lord.
But there is a character in there. Her name's Tahoe, and she's the romantic partner of Holland, the pilot guy. She is like, if for people who have seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, she's basically the Misaki, I think is her name, of Evangelion, like the older woman character. But she's a little bit more, at first she might seem like a little bit much, like she's doing a lot. But because the series takes time to dive into each of the characters, she actually gets a really good character growth. And she kind of reflects lots of real life experiences of women. I'll try not to give away too much information because I'm trying to make you all watch the show. But Tahoe goes through like character growth much more than Holland. And I think she deserves better, but that's on a whole different level. But she goes through a type of character growth where she has to grow up, like she has to mature faster than other people on the ship. Even though she is an adult, she can act kind of young on the show at the beginning, but she has to mature really quickly because of certain things that happen. And it's something that can be really, really relatable to women who have to kind of like mature faster than like sometimes their romantic partners, sometimes the people around them, who have to like kind of step up and like take charge and figure out what they want in order to help the other people in their lives. So I really like her character, and I think her character is like the most underrated in the show. But yeah, I think it has a lot to say about women growing up and changing too. Even though it's a story about a young boy, the women in the show do get good character growth, which I'm thankful for.
I was looking at that Annie List page looking for her, and she's very pretty.
Yes.
She's just so cute. And I that's one thing I feel like, granted, I haven't seen everything from the nowadays,
It's
but
okay.
there's something about a lot of older shows where the ensemble cast just was casting, like especially shows like that had, you know, when you have a lot of episodes, that is one of the good things, like where you can see more of other characters' side and there can be a focus on people other than the main character. And that's something that I always love in the show, because sometimes like the favorite isn't going to be the main, like you could obviously love the main
Yeah.
character, you know, they're the show, but when you have like other people in the show to root for, you're just like, yes, like this is my
Yeah.
fave. And just looking from, you know, searching and seeing all the characters that come up, like this seems like an anime where there's just so many people, like really, like the ensemble is ensembling, like
It is a lot. Yeah. There are a lot. It's not as much as Naruto, because, you know, everyone likes to say Naruto has like, you know, a million characters, but there are a lot of characters in Eureka 7. You will only care about like a core few of them, but I appreciate that because it had 50 episodes in its original anime to kind of flesh out the characters in the story. We get more information about even like the side characters that don't seem that important, but do serve a purpose in the show, do serve a purpose in their group, which is like this ship that kind of runs on its own, like separate from the government, and everyone has like the thing that they do. So
this is so good. And I am, as I'm on the Annie List page, I see that it has like a sequel and some alternatives. Have you seen all those other ones too?
yeah, so the funny thing is Crunchyroll right now, you know, they're going through a lot because they're still transitioning from Funimation library and all that. But Crunchyroll right now only has the sequel, which is Eureka 7 AO, which is a kind of a spoiler, so I won't say like exactly what it's about, because it would kind of give away some things. It's what the main character is related to some of the characters in the main series, and it's okay. Like I've seen it only once, but it wasn't my favorite. Not to say that it was bad though; it was still pretty decent. And then the creator Tomo. Let me look him up. I have him right here. Tomoki Kyoda, the director for Eureka 7, he came out with 3 more movies, like they're kind of like the Evangelion rebuild series, where it was like new kind of original movies that added something to the story, but also kind of recreated the story. They're like that for Eureka 7. So the first one is basically a retelling of Eureka 7, the first season, and then the other 2 are kind of totally different, extra stories with Anemone, which is the pink-haired girl, and Eureka, who is the green-haired character. So I haven't yet to see those because I haven't heard good things about them, but so I'm kind of scared because I don't want it to mess up like how I feel about the main show, which the main show is only on Funimation right now. So sorry for those of y'all who cancel y'all subscriptions, because you know Crunchyroll is supposed to have the whole library, but you know they're working through it. I'm not gonna blame them.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. And there's licensing things and all kinds of stuff, so I'm not gonna be mad at them, but. Yeah, the original series is on Funimation, so if you do want to watch it, it's on there.
Well, that was great. Well, Phoenix, thanks so much for educating us. Am I gonna watch it? I'm not sure. I do have
That's
Funimation.
valid.
And it's only because it's 50 episodes and I'm
It is
barely keeping up with what I watch. It's so hard. It's so hard to watch.
I'm not going to pressure anyone to watch it. I just wanted to talk about it because I love it.
Well, this is the agenda, and I think the one thing too is like, I'm sure people are gonna come out the woodworks and be like, "Well, actually, I love this anime, and this is one of my faves too." And this is one of my favorite parts of the show is people just, you know, finding others who love to talk about what they're gonna talk about. Especially like, there's just something to me, like anime from the 2000s just has my heart in a way. Like,
Yes.
there's certain series from that times that like they're just so magical, and I feel like you can't do that again. Like, or
Yeah.
it just, it may be the nostalgia talking, but there's something like that for me where I'm just like, I don't know, like even just looking at the artwork for this series, like I feel those feelings. And
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes. It's like nostalgia. Like it's
mhm,
just feels good to watch. Like
yeah,
that's why I watch it too. It's
it's
just
a
the nostalgia.
transformation. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's good, and I'm excited to, you know, my favorite part is people interacting with the episode to see who else remembers this, especially stuff on Toonami. Like I've had conversations about
Yeah.
this before, where a lot of us were watching everything that was on there because we knew it was anime and we didn't have anywhere else to get it at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see, you know, where people come up from this. But as we are wrapping up, where, you know, what should the people be looking forward to from you? Where can they find you? Where do you want us to go and interact with you?
We'll just go for now. Mostly go to the Anime Tea YouTube. You know, I'm posting videos on there. I haven't posted recently, but I have videos in the works coming out. And you know, I always post updates on there mostly. But if you follow any other social media, follow me on Instagram. I also just like got my Threads account, so follow me on there now, I
I'm
guess.
in there.
Yeah, so the Anime Tea all together. Spelled the way you think it's spelled. Everywhere that you can basically look on social media, I'm there. I just don't post as often.
Because you're
But
actually doing the work.
yeah, I'm like, it's mostly because I can't focus on more than one thing at a time. So find me on YouTube.
And I will say, as a stan, you're very, I like your YouTube's community. Like you be posting, and I'll be like, damn, I need to update my community because there are
Oh
people in
yeah,
here that be interacting with me, and I forget
yeah,
about it. But I mean, maybe I should treat it like Twitter and post more updates on there. Not that
yeah.
I post a lot on Twitter to be honest, so I'm always lurking. But yes, and we will also be in tune for your book. Like I said, once it's
Yeah.
out and you know we have dates, we will have you back on the show to talk about it. And some, you know, if we do a live stream, because I'll be doing everything, so
Yes.
we'll have you back. But I'm so excited. And for all of you guys listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. If you like this episode, be sure to comment what was your favorite part. Are you going to check out Eureka Seven? Are you laughing at me struggling to pronounce Eureka Seven? You know, that's fun. That's fair. And if you are listening wherever the podcast that has reviews, leave us a review. I keep saying us, but it's me, but it's us because like I'm a us. So
Yes.
you know, you know what it is. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.